Welcome back to the News at 10. Let's take it to Abuja now, where Linda Akiwa is standing by with more on the News at 10. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Amarachi. A post-bomb clearance expert has harped on the need for security operatives to be able to identify components of improvised explosive devices at first sight. Mr. Thomas Conboy, who was a guest speaker at an explosive demonstration and investigating forum for security operatives, which took place in Lagos, southwest Nigeria.
Traders and shoppers scampering to safety at one of the scenes of a bomb blast at the famous Terminus Market in Jos, the Plateau State capital, in May 2014. Moments after, security and safety operatives arrive at the scene as another device is set off. The role of security operatives is crucial in moments like this. That's why bomb experts drawn from security agencies in Nigeria and their counterparts from the United States are comparing notes on basic pre- and post-blast investigations.
The FBI/US Embassy team did not only provide the human capacity needed for this course, but they also provide other technical and instructional materials that are critically needed for this training.
It is, in fact, a continuous effort, and the American and the Nigerian governments and bomb techs in our countries work together, hopefully, to prevent terrorist attacks, and when they do occur, to find out who perpetrated them and bring them to justice.
In this classroom participation, Michael Trubenbach explains the need for experts to be able to identify explosives, often a dangerous tool in the hands of terror groups.
This course specifically covers post-blast. We'll go into a little bit of preventive measures, and that goes into their own personal security when they're working an explosive scene. How to keep themselves safe, how to inspect their vehicles, make sure no one's attached a device to their car. That's pretty much what this course concentrates on. There's a large range of protective measures, but it's really not what's covered in this course.
This course on explosive demonstration and actual investigation of a post-blast scene may just help these officers to see things differently during future operations.
The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization has predicted that Nigeria may not achieve the Sustainable Development Goal for education by the year 2030. In the report launched by the Minister of Education in Abuja, the Global Education Monitoring Report for 2016, prepared by UNESCO, says Nigeria may not achieve universal primary education until 2070. The Minister of Education, Mr. Adamu, however, reaffirms the federal government's commitment to ensure that the nation meets the 2030 target by reducing the number of out-of-school children.
Education experts, government officials and other key players in the education sector here to witness the launch of the monitoring report for 2016. The report predicts that going by current trends, Nigeria will only achieve its universal primary education by 2070. The Minister of Education, who launched the report, reaffirmed the government's commitment to ensure that the prediction does not come to pass.
We must not allow this prediction to come to pass. And as I said, we should rededicate ourselves to achieving this together with the rest of humanity. And if we can do it, we should do it probably even earlier. The report has brought to the fore the type of education that is vital to the attainment of the new SDGs of poverty reduction, hunger eradication, the improvement of healthcare delivery systems, attaining gender equality, achieving sustainable agriculture and building resilient and habitable cities.
The regional director of UNESCO calls for increased access to quality basic education as a way of addressing the problem.
Education needs a major transformation to fulfill that potential and meet the current challenges facing humanity and the planet.
For the Minister of State for Education, the 2030 education agenda is achievable with the concerted efforts of all Nigerians.
This explains the sense of urgency, the single renewed education agenda that is holistic, ambitious, implementable, and inspirational.
The Global Education Monitoring Report examines how countries will achieve the 2030 target of Sustainable Development Goal for education. The report also looks at the status of countries on education around the world today and where it will be by 2030.
And that's all from Abuja. We head back to Lagos, where Emana is waiting for the business news.
Thank you, Linda. Welcome to Business News. As Nigeria battles with economic recession and the dire need to raise funds, particularly foreign exchange, the African Development Bank is looking to provide over $4 billion between 2016 and 2017. President of the bank and Nigeria's former Agriculture Minister, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, who is on his first official visits to Nigeria in his capacity as president of the ADB, says the funds would be used to develop the power and agriculture sectors in the country. Dr. Adesina was speaking after holding talks with President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja, Nigeria's federal capital territory. The plan includes $1 billion for budget support, $300 million to create jobs for about 185,000 youths. $250 million will go towards Northeast infrastructure development, and $1 million will go for a deal to handle challenges of internally displaced persons, and $300 million for infrastructure development around Abuja, and $200 million for the Transmission Company of Nigeria to deepen facilities. Dr. Adesina adds that the ADB expects to invest a total of $10 billion in Nigeria by 2019 in terms of the country's portfolio. And all is now set for the 2016 edition of the World Pension Summit, Africa's Special, beginning tomorrow in Abuja. This follows weeks of preparation since the announcement was first made public last month in Lagos. The meeting, which will be holding for the third consecutive time in Nigeria, has been designed to afford operators the opportunity to examine developing issues in the pension industry. Our correspondent, Tempo Ashaju, takes a look at some of the issues with the organizers of the meeting.
Last year, the World Pension Summit Africa Special in Abuja was themed Sustainable Pension System in Africa. The meeting, which had policymakers, regulators and pension operators, as well as business leaders from across the continent in attendance, was a huge success. The meeting provided insights on the use of pension assets for infrastructure deficits in Africa, securitization, and the needs to capture the informal sector.
Every year, we've been able to make more impact, not only in Nigeria, but in all the African countries.
This year's forum has been scheduled for tomorrow, September the 27th and 28th. At this briefing organized in August, the Director General of Nigeria's Pension Commission, Ms. Chinelo Anahu-Amazu, explains the theme for this year, Pension Innovations, the African Perspective.
It is expected that this year's summit will bring together professionals and highly experienced resources from across the world in the areas of investment, actuarial science, insurance, coverage, extension, and other pension-related fields.
Jointly organized with the exponents of the summit, Nigeria's capacity to host the third session in a row is attributed to the rights retained.
There's always something new to address in terms of developments and innovations, and we see this around the world. You have changes in regulation, you have changes in global economic situations that have an impact locally, country by country.
Because you need an actual valuation to determine a whole gamut of things. And the reason for it playing a huge part in this year's summit is that it's one area that is often overlooked, and yet it's very key because it's one area that is largely dependent on data.
With more participants expected this year, the summit will also feature the second edition of Africa Pensions Awards, which aims to reward excellence and sustain innovations in the industry. Temple Ashaju, Channels Television News.
Now, Monday's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange ended with a weak rise for the broad index, while the market breadth was negative with 16 gainers and 20 losers. For more on today's activity, let's join Millicent Walker.
welcome to the Stock Market Report. Equities on the Nigerian stock market started off the last week of trading for the month of September with a slight increase of 0.06%, while the market capitalization rose by about 5 billion naira to 9.708 trillion naira. Monday's session recorded a total turnover of 249.76 million shares, valued at 1.965 billion naira, and traded in 3,170 deals. Fidelity Bank sold over 52 million shares, making it the most active stock for the day, followed by Diamond Bank and Access Bank. The top three gainers on the price chart were Flour Mills, Cadbury and Skybank, while Better Glass, Caverton and Conoil emerged as the most significant decliners. And that's the Stock Market Report. I am Millicent Walker.
Thank you, Millicent. It's a negative closing for major markets across US, Europe and Asia today as investors turn attention to the US presidential debate as well as the two-day OPEC meeting in Algeria. Let's see the numbers. That's Business News Tonight. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Imana Amawe. Amarachi.
Thanks, Imana. Senior secondary school students in Nigeria can now gear up to compete in the 2016 UBA Foundation National Essay Competition. The essay competition, which is only applicable to applicants who intend to study in African universities, comes with an education grant for the three best essay writers. The winner, the first runner-up and the second runner-up are expected to cart away 1 million naira, 750,000 naira and 500,000 naira respectively.
It's that time of the year again for senior secondary school students to put their minds at work through essay writing.
Here in Lagos, put your hands together.
An initiative of the UBA Foundation since 2011. The topic for this year's competition is, if you were in a position to help the internally displaced persons, IDPs, what would you do? The MD CEO of UBA Foundation discloses the gains of the initiative.
Without saying that this competition is for indigent students, there's a way we phrase it. If you plan to go to an African university, do send in your entries. What we try to do is to help the less privileged without going out to say we're helping the less privileged.
I'm sure that if your plan is to go to a private school, okay, you know that it costs much to go to a private school. And you'll be doing your parents a world of good if you win this competition and the grant that you win complements what your parents will put on the table to ensure that you go to that private school.
The educational grant is, however, not coming easy, as the winner's performance while in the university will be strictly monitored.
Every year you get 250,000. By the next year, before we give you the second 250, you have to bring your school results for that year. So we're not just paying for somebody who won a competition and is loafing around in school. You have to maintain a certain GPA and you have to be of good behavior.
To enter for the competition, senior secondary school students across the country must send a handwritten essay on the topic of not more than 750 words and submit to UBA Foundation or any UBA business office. Other requirements include biodata, original birth certificates, or international passport data pages. UBA Foundation says entries closes on November 4, 2016.